Hey. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to all of you in the sanctuary and those joining us virtually. My name is Anna Howard, and I am one of the team of Sweaty Worship Associates who have the privilege of being part of the wonderful sweaty group of people who work hard to bring worship services to you each week. The gift of music will come to us from Johnny Peiffer and the South Church Choir. The Time for All Ages will be offered by Kirsten Hunter. Following the story, the kids are welcome to join the children's programming with Liz and Emily, either downstairs or outside, wherever the chances of survival are greater. And now we have some announcements. We have a special announcer today. Let me please welcome our new settled minister, Reverend Ellen Quaadgras.
Aw. Hello. Is this working? I said, aw. That's beautiful. Thank you. I had already felt welcomed here. It was so great to see some of you on Star Island, and it is so great to see you all here today and to see those of you who are watching in the stratosphere. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person soon, too. And my heart is full and just a little nervous as we begin this adventure together. I am not just here to say hello, however. I actually have an announcement. It is summer. It's hard to deny as I see all your fans flying here. And in the summer, in many UU congregations, things are a little more relaxed, things slow down a little bit, and I think that's true here too. It's often an opportunity to experiment and try some new things. And so this month, for August, I am leaning into experimenting and also collaborating as part of getting to know you and you getting to know me. So, at Star, I led a workshop for folks, and we created a worship service together. By the time we were done, I think we had the fingerprints of like 15 people on that service, and about 7 of us will be here next week, and I think it's going to be wonderful. And the following Sunday, I wanna widen the circle even more for your participation. It's going to be a service on poetry, and all are invited to bring your favorite poem, something that has some meaning for you. So we're gonna offer an opportunity to share those poems, say in one sentence how it's meaningful to you, and another opportunity to speak a little bit from something that's important to us, speak from the soul. And some of you may be thinking, ooh, poetry. Yeah, I already know which poem I want to share. I know what I want to say about it. Great. Some of you may be saying, poetry, okay, but I don't know about that sharing thing. That seems kind of risky. And maybe you can lean into that edge a little bit, see what happens. You never know. And some of you may be saying, poetry, really? You would not be alone. I used to be one of those people, and then at some point in my life, I was like, there's something here. And who knows, maybe this service will be the one at which you also discover something new about the purpose of poetry in your life. So it'll be a time for people to share a poem, and I'll also reflect on poetry and spiritual practice. And then for our last service in August, I'm still sorting out and thinking through what I want to do for that. So if you have an idea that you want to work on with me, come find me. Oh, and for the poetry service, let me know if you are planning to bring a poem and which one it is, so I can plan for that. All of this, by the way, is in your newsletter from August 1, which I know you all opened immediately and read voraciously. But if you didn't happen to do that, you can do that now if you want to kind of reread what was in there. And lastly, I want to say that the idea came up of dinners with me, and I love that idea. So tentatively, we're calling it Meals with the Minister. And I think hopefully we'll be able to coordinate that with some of the meal-oriented programs already happening in the church. But if that's something that you're like, I would love to host something like that, or I want to help organize that, let me know, and we'll figure that out. So glad to be here. I'm so excited for this adventure with all of you, and I now pass it along to Johnny.
Good morning. For the invocation this morning, we're going to sing a song called I Am Finding My Way Back to Now by Heather Pearson, and the choir is going to help me. And I invite you all to join in. It's very simple. It's very repetitive. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. And I'm going to get my pitches. Wasn't blaming it, Ellen. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now.
If you are watching us from home, we invite you to light your own candle as we light the chalice in the sanctuary. As we light the chalice, I wanted to share these words by Lao Tzu. Nature never hurries, yet everything gets accomplished. Now, please rise as you are able and join me in reciting our mission statement, which is in your order of service or on your screen. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. Please be seated. Each of us can find ourselves stressed out, caught up in the whirl of it all, whether it is a job, health issues, family matters, or combination of all three. Here's what I learned about recovering and dealing with stress and value of being present this past week. I just returned from a week-long conference of the American Accounting Association, AAA, not to be confused with people who change your tires. 1,300 accounting professors were there from the US and other countries, which made for a hectic week. My team and I were responsible for unpacking and setting up a booth at the exhibit hall, presenting at several sessions, moderating several presentations, introducing several educator awards, holding a reception, attending reception of other organizations, smiling, interacting, being on. I joyfully got to meet those with whom I worked over Zoom for the last 2 years. I met a lot of new people and future collaborators. Every day started with a working breakfast at 8 a.m. and ended with late dinner with colleagues. It was exciting and exhausting, physically, mentally, emotionally. Frequently, it's taking time for ourselves that is difficult. I find it difficult. I felt like everything was coming at me too quickly, and there wasn't any space to step back and relax. How do I get centered? The answer came from a San Diego local, a seagull that landed outside my 14th floor hotel window one morning. This bird took its time to clean each feather very carefully, then strutted around, and realizing that more rejuvenation was needed, settled for a quick nap before flying off. I watched that gull for 10 or 15 minutes with amazement. I was admiring its capacity for self-care. I decided to take that seagull's lesson and find ways to slow down every day. Slowing down didn't mean I could take the foot off the gas. It just meant finding ways to break up the day with moments of peace and relaxation. My ways of slowing down among the chaos of a busy conference was taking breaks and taking breaths. I became more deliberate about taking 10 slow inhales and exhales first thing I woke up. I ran to my room for 15 minutes after every lunch just to put my feet up and preen my feathers. I started taking a purple break. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's just covering your eyes with your hands, with your palms for 2 minutes in a quiet space. Being present and grounded allowed me to connect with those around me on a deeper level. It allowed me to be present and provide space for a colleague who shared a heartache of a son who is a drug addict and has been homeless for 2 years. Connecting on a heart level with someone you usually only talk about work is bond forming. Talking through what's going on in your lives is important in good times and in bad. Another colleague admitted that this conference exhausted him so much, he takes 3 days to go to a lake house after that so he doesn't have to talk to anybody. Talking about the stressors can help us feel like we are not alone and that there is someone who cares about what you're going through. When your day or week get hectic and overwhelming, how do you slow down and stay grounded? Let's share at the social hour. Please rise as you are willing and able to sing hymn 318.
Okay, so science says that heat rises, which means sitting on the floor is the coolest place in the room. So if you're interested in being in the coolest place in the room, you're welcome to come forward and do that. I'm going to put this on the right way so that it's not driving me crazy through this whole time for all ages. Anyone of all ages is welcome to take advantage of that cooling factor of floor sitting. And I'm going to read a story to us today, but before I do, something happened in the news that you have to know about. On the subject of things that make us shift our patterns, there is a scientist in France, I forget his name, but he played a joke on the world. He took a picture and posted it online and said it was a close-up photo of a planet that came through the new the James Webb Space Telescope that's been sending us all these amazing new photos of far distant space. It was a close-up picture of a planet. And then later, people figured out that it was actually a close-up picture of a piece of chorizo sausage. And that scientist is busy apologizing to the world today, but I think we should thank him, because sometimes laughter can make us shift our patterns too, and that definitely made me laugh. If you look at a piece of chorizo sausage, it looks a lot like a planet. It does look like a planet. I'm telling you, you need to go check, and then we can talk about it next week. So the book that I have to share with us today is called Sloth at the Zoom. Not zoo, but Zoom. And that's an important part of the story. And if you're not familiar with the animal, the sloth, sloths are pretty cool. And they are very good at moving slow. That's an important part of this story, too. One bright day, a truck whizzed up to the front gate of the Zoom. There was a new animal being delivered. It was a sloth. But on the delivery slip here, it doesn't say deliver to the Zoom. It says to deliver to the zoo. I think maybe a mistake happened. It took a long time for the Zoom keepers to get that sloth out of the truck. First, they had to wake her up. Then she needed a sip of water. Then she needed to stretch. When she finally looked around, the sloth was perplexed. You see, she thought her new home would be pretty laid back. Rest and relax at the zoo, it said in the brochure she had in her bag. But this was the Zoom, not the zoo. And at the Zoom, the zebras galloped so fast they left their stripes in the puddles. The monkeys climbed so fast they forgot to stop at the treetops and came flinging out the end. And the parrots flew so fast in the sky that their tails drew rainbows across the air. Whew, said the sloth, what is all this fluff and flutter about? After a few weeks, the sloth was ready to make a new friend. She called out, "Hello, cheetah. Where are you going in such a rush?" "No time to chat," said Cheetah as she buzzed by, busy, busy, busy. "Don't you have anything to do?" And the sloth just nodded slowly. "Of course. I have to listen to the shh, shh, shh of the leaves. few weeks later, the sloth called to the monkeys, "Hello! Would you like to hang out with me?" "Can't stop now," said the monkeys as they screeched by. "We're running ever so late," and they raced up and down and round the jungle gym. And the sloth shrugged her shaggy shoulders, and she chose a comfy spot where the sun's golden rays would tickle her belly all day long. A few weeks after that, the sloth flagged down the zebras as they zipped by. "I like your stripes," she called. They whinnied their thanks without stopping. And the sloth sighed and shook her shaggy head. "No one here has any time." "Quite so," replied a voice. And the sloth looked up, and she didn't see anything. And slowly she looked down, and there, on a philodendron leaf, was a snail. Now, this conversation took about an hour. I'm going to speed it up a little bit, but please imagine how slowly they spoke to each other. "Why, hello down there. Nice to meet you." Long silence. And then the snail said, "Since you don't seem too busy, perhaps you'd care to have a snack with me." And Sloth said, "I'd be delighted." This is about a half an hour later. "But it will take a while." And slowly, Sloth moved along her branch. "I'm in no hurry," said the snail. Look at how long it took. Sloth slowly scooched out along her branch. She stopped and had a nibble of a leaf on her way. She scooched a little further. She noticed a dragonfly zooming by. She slowly dropped down to the leaf where the snail was sitting. It was about 2 hours later when she finally got there. The sun was starting to set, and they sat and shared a bite, and they shared a cool drink. And as the sun set, adorning the sky, they shared a contented sigh. And then the monkeys swung over. "What are you doing?" Sloth offered them some iced tea. Next came the cheetah. "What's going on?" And Snail offered her a green leaf to nibble on. And finally, the zebras asked, "Mind if we join you?" And everyone shuffled to make some room. And as the day became night and night became day, the animals at the zoom slowed down. Just long enough, that is, to become fast friends. That is our story for today. And if you would like to, you can rise up and we will sing you out to some wonderful RE programming.
During the month of August, our collection will be shared with FairTide. We have Emily Flinkstrom from FairTide to share a few words.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me and allowing me a few moments to talk about the work that we're doing at FairTide and for your support. We provide housing and supportive services to individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness here on the Seacoast. We were founded about 24 years ago by a group of people who just recognized there was an issue with homelessness and decided to do something about it. So they raised money to purchase and renovate a 5-unit house in Kittery, and they turned it into housing for individuals and families who were homeless at the time. Over the last 5 years or so, we have been working on growing and expanding to meet the ever-increasing need for affordable housing and for our work. And we're expanding through a couple different avenues. One is through partnering with landlords. So we're trying to open up more units that exist right now in the rental market to people we work with. So we have a program that provides incentives to landlords to do that and to house the folks that we work with who often have rental vouchers. The other avenue through which we're expanding is through trying to bring new units of affordable housing to our region. So for the last 5 years or so, we've been laying the groundwork for that. I like that the theme today is slow, because this work has been moving slowly. But we are now actually seeing the fruits of our labor. We just got funding and have a property on which we'll build 6 units of deeply affordable housing. And we have another project that's coming down the pike this year. So we have seen the benefits of all the work in changing zoning and getting folks to be on board with what we're doing. So I won't take up too much more of your time. I'll stick around for a little bit after the service, and I'm happy to talk more about our work, how you can support it, and thank you very much for supporting what we're doing in the community.
Thank you. You can donate in many ways. You can use our mobile app, Venco. You can give via donate link on our website, or sending a check in the mail to our office at 73 Court Street in Portsmouth, or use the collection plate that's going to be passed around. The offering will now be gratefully received.
As we settle into a time of meditation and prayer, I encourage you to close your eyes and think about the multitude of gifts in the world that help you shift, that help you cope with grief, that help you let go of feeling overwhelmed. What are the things around us? What are the gifts around us? Where is the bounty that holds us through all of it? All of the rush, all of the hurry, all of the heavy. We are here for each other. If you are struggling, we are here for you. If you need to talk to someone, please reach out. There are pew cards in your pews where you can write any needs you have for our pastoral associates and bring them up forward. If you're on the live chat, on the live stream, there's a live chat, and we would love to hear from you there as well. Now is a time for anyone who wishes to come forward, light a candle for joy, for concern, for something heavy or light on your heart. I invite people to come down the side aisles and back up the center. You can do that now. Where would we be without art, without music, without sculpture and dance, without birds, without paintings and photos and theater and poetry? Poet Jane Hirshfield says, by changing selves, one by one, art changes also the outer world that selves create and share. Art offers us opportunities to deepen our roots. It's a pathway that we as human meaning makers use to strengthen our connection to that which is larger than us. Our connection to God, maybe, if that resonates for you, or our connection to each other, our connection to the mystery of life, our connection to the larger patterns in the world. However we define it, when we strengthen those roots, it makes us more steady, and we are able to affect positive change in our own life, in the wider community, and well beyond. We are microsystems. We are microsystems, and our friendships and relationships are systems, and communities are systems. Let us practice upwards, says author Adrienne Marie Brown. And I think art, human creativity, is a powerful way to practice upwards. As we live into a world that is demanding us to change in fundamental ways, how can art help us practice? In an unexpected turn of life events, over the past few years, I have begun to enjoy opera. Who knew? All credit goes to my partner, who has shared a love of opera with his mom for many, many years. And with his encouragement, a few years back, I went to see a performance of Puccini's Tosca at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York. Maybe part of the credit goes to the Metropolitan Opera House in New York. My appreciation for this art form has grown steadily since then. This past June, we took my parents to see an opera at the Met. My dad had confessed to me a few years back that he had never been and wanted to remedy that. So I bought tickets for them as a Christmas gift and chose a performance of Akhenaten. There's a photo on the cover of our order of service from that performance. It's an opera written by Philip Glass, which I had already seen a filmed recording of here at the Music Hall in Portsmouth, and I really loved it. The production had really impressed me, and I thought it would be a show my dad would particularly enjoy. Akhenaten is quite different than other operas I had previously seen, and recognizing that my own opera knowledge is still quite limited, I think that it's fair to say Philip Glass shifts away from traditional opera in some striking ways in his art. The singing is impressive, but instead of feeling like the focal point of the performance, as had been the case in other operas I've seen, in Akhenaten, the singing feels like a smaller part of the whole. And like everything else in this opera, the vocals push against what you might find comfortable or what you might expect. Sense of discomfort in this whole production exists in almost every context, in fact. So with the vocals, for example, the character of Akhenaten himself is played by a contralto. His voice is startlingly high. Akhenaten was a man who held tremendous power, but the absence of a booming tenor or baritone challenged my expectations of that image of power as he began to sing. And there's a scene when his wife Nefertiti and he sing a duet. Her voice is deeper than his, creating in this duet a need to continually strain against your own assumptions of who is singing which part. The New York Times described the musical score that its groups of beats in shifting metrical combinations churn constantly in mid-range instruments as oscillating two-note riffs, spiraling arpeggios, where rising and falling scales float above or hover below. For me, listening to the musical score during Akhenaten was a moving in and out. It was so repetitive at times that it would feel a little unbearable. But it also seemed like that repetition itself allowed me to notice more subtle things. I would begin to think about the skill required to play the same note again and again and again, or how hard it must be to come in on that offbeat. I would fall into the complexity of it, and then I would want to push it away. It wasn't easy to enjoy with its minor keys and its discordance, but I liked it. The way bitter food can be so satisfying. The production is a feast for the eyes. It feels like a moving painting. But the main characters move throughout the entirety of the 3.5 hours of this opera at the speed of a slow tortoise. Sometimes they would seem absolutely frozen in space, sloth-like. In one memorable scene, Akhenaten and Nefertiti are walking toward one another from opposite sides of the stage, and I kid you not, it takes 5 minutes for them to get there. All the while, they're dressed in a diaphanous red fabric that stretches out into a long train, trailing behind their bodies as they move toward one another across that grand stage. The effect feels like a slowly painted brushstroke. And it still takes ages, even once they reach each other, for their hands to touch, for them to kiss. And as they pass, the fabric twists past itself in a poetry that's kind of hard to explain, but it stirs you. And you watch them walk away from one another again. And even after they each exit on opposite sides of the stage, it's still a full minute or more before the red fabric also disappears. It's so beautiful, but it really pushes your attention span. It's an uncomfortable beauty. During many of the scenes of this opera, whilst the main characters move at snail speed, there's also a huge background cast who themselves also embrace that slow speed, except that there are jugglers sprinkled throughout the entire performance, more than 20 of them, I think, who engage in synchronized juggling. And it is so distracting because everything else is moving so slow, so of course you turn your attention to the juggling. And at various points, it so effectively distracted me that I would look back to the main characters and they would have moved a lot, startlingly. I would have missed something, which seemed impossible because they were moving so slow. I could observe my own tendencies and preferences as I was invited to push myself in different ways. In June, as the four of us sat down together in the Met and the first song played, I started to remember how this production had challenged me on the first viewing. I remembered the drone of the music as it started again, and I looked over at my parents, and I wondered what they were thinking. At some point during the first act, when I glanced at my father, I could see his impatience. I related to it. But I also wondered if he was finding the same satisfaction from that feeling as I was. Was he welcoming the challenge of those feelings, or was he wishing them away? And at one point in the second or third act, I remember looking over at him in a particularly drawn-out scene and seeing him going like this, motioning to move it along like that would somehow make the whole show go faster. And all at once, I felt affection and compassion for his discomfort, but also more than a little sense of joy at the way that it can be fun to watch your loved ones squirm. He was having his own experience, and I couldn't do a thing about it, and that was okay. At the very end, I asked if he hated it. And he said, "No. But it could have been half as long. And I recognize that that was true for my dad on that day. It wasn't true for me. I think that long time was necessary. It was a part of what made it such a meaningful experience for me. I know that since then, feelings that I had in that room have come up again and again. And my sense of the value of those feelings, of having kind of an anchor point of where I felt that before, has been really helpful. It's helped me navigate impatience in a different way. It's helped me navigate distraction in a different way. It offered me some real opportunities to practice upward. I don't know what Philip Glass and all of the many people who co-created that opera meant for me to take away that evening. I do believe that my dad had a different experience from me, as did my mom and surely every other person in that room, but also we didn't. My dad's somewhat unwelcome discomfort and my more celebrated version I experienced, they overlap with one another. And the opportunity for that whole audience to share in the witness of this human creativity, it brought us all together. It gives us points of reference. It helps us talk about big truths and common challenges. It helps us connect, even in ways that our observations diverge. In the weeks since that evening, I've thought about the ways that sitting through a 3.5-hour opera may have been different for my mom and dad. In a physical sense, it is harder on their bodies than it is on mine. In a life stage sense, they might not be needing to learn the same lessons that I am needing to learn right now. They might already know that just fine. I don't know a lot of the details about their experience, but it's not my work to figure that out. My work is right here. And the opportunities we have to share those kinds of experiences, to do our own work and also compare notes a little bit, those are incredible opportunities. Those offer us observations on how each of us navigate our growing edges. So here's a few things that I've been carrying with me since that night. Juggling consumes attention, and it's unavoidable, and you have to remember to look away, to know that it is an important part of the show, and also to remember there's a bigger story to be told. Juggling is such a great metaphor for the day-to-day doings, all the things that have to happen to keep things moving along. Similarly, main characters walking slowly across the stage might represent the really big work in life, the mission or the goal, our larger purpose. It can be really easy to pay too much attention to the juggling and not keep your eye on that big work. And the big work is slow. The big work is slow. There is value in challenging our impatience with things that take time. Different things happen when we turn down the tempo, when we let go of the inclination to move things along, to check a box, to get to the next task. I know all of this, but it's hard to practice in a world where everyone seems to be in a hurry, when we live in a Zoom. We wonder how we can embody sloth energy. Where are the spaces that allow us to practice? Performance can be one of those spaces. Museums, books, parks, seagulls on a ledge. During Reverend Susan's leave-taking this past month, I felt some collective recognition of the need to slow down and pay attention. We gave ourselves the opportunity to reflect, to take real time to recognize Susan's ministry and acknowledge some of what we have all collectively experienced over the past 2.5 years. We put down some of the juggling balls. We haven't always been good about taking that kind of time in this community. I don't think the world is very good right now at taking that kind of time. But it is so helpful to do so. And right now, I can feel the urge to hit the gas. Ellen and I have talked about it. I feel it in myself, and I feel it in others. I'm trying to notice the urge, but not necessarily give in to it. I'm trying to keep juggling, but not let it distract me from the big work, the slow work. Rachel Carson famously said that new beginnings are apt to be shadowy. So what are the ways that we can each help each other step slowly into the shadows ahead, and the days and the weeks that are in front of us? It helps to find things that push you out of your comfort zone, that change your habits, so you can practice sitting in discomfort. Only you can determine the edge of that comfort. Contrary to what the dominant culture teaches us, we are not in competition with one another. I didn't do a better job of attending that opera than my dad did. I did my job. My dad did his. We both have unfolding experiences that will continue to play out as that shared moment lives in our consciousness. And each of our experiences affect each other. You know, so often, says psychologist Aaliyah Crum, we think that our beliefs, our experiences, are a direct reflection of the world as it is objectively. And what you come to realize is that it's just not the case. Our perceptions, our beliefs, our experiences are always an interpretation. They're always filtering through the lenses, the mindsets that we have. We are always moving, slowly and not so slowly, changing. Let us be grateful this morning for the multitude of ways that we are invited into co-creation and meaning-making. Let us be grateful for the musicians and the painters and the writers and the producers. Let us be grateful for the audience that makes the meaning and the constant ways that we all move in and out of our roles. Let us be grateful for ourselves, whole and complete. And let us be grateful for the ways we constantly help one another to evolve, to open our eyes to new mindsets, and to recognize new patterns that will lead us all forward, that will help us practice upward. It is slow work. It is wonderful work. Amen. I invite you to sing with me hymn number 168.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I think we were supposed to do that before the hymn, huh? A little order shifting. Pema Chodron says, instead of seeing it as futile or depressing, we can see the limitlessness of the job ahead of us as a source of continual inspiration. We are in such good company. We are so full of talent. Inspiration is all around us. May it be so.
During Offertory, Postlude, yeah. One thought I had is, I know that, do you know Lynette Miles? She was